I've lived next to this HOA for years, and if you've ever dealt with one, you know they're nosy and entitled. But our neighborhood HOA is something else. They've got their own security team. These aren't real officers. They're just a bunch of middle-aged dudes in uniforms they bought online, driving around in an old SUV with HOA police stenciled on the side. My family runs a junkyard and scrap business just outside the neighborhood. It's private property, fenced off, and covered with no trespassing signs. But the HOA president, who we call Karen, has been harassing us for months, claiming our yard is an eyesore and lowers property values. She's been threatening fines, even though we're not part of the HOA at all. One Saturday morning, I heard engines rumbling past the gates. I walked outside and nearly fell over laughing. Karen's wannabe HOA cops had driven their SUV straight into my junkyard. No permission, no warrant, nothing. I shouted, "Hey, this is private property. You can't be here." Their captain yelled back, "We're conducting an inspection. HOA bylaws allow us to investigate suspicious activity." I said, "You realize HOA rules stop at your fence line, right? This junkyard isn't your jurisdiction." But they didn't care. They got out, started taking pictures of piles of scrap metal, and even tried opening the gate to the storage area where we keep valuable parts. That's when my grandpa, who's been running this yard since the 70s, rolled up on his forklift, chewing his cigar like Clint Eastwood. "What's going on here?" he growled. One of the fake cops puffed out his chest and said, "Sir, we're with HOA enforcement. This junkyard violates community standards." Grandpa spat his cigar on the ground and laughed. "Community standards? Son, the only standard here is the law. And you just trespassed." They kept arguing, saying they had authority. That's when Grandpa looked at me, smirked and said, "Guess I'll show them what happens when you bring junk into a junkyard." Before I realized what he meant, he fired up the industrial car shredder. That machine can chew through an old pickup in under a minute. He lifted the HOA SUV with the forklift while the wannabe cops screamed, "You can't do this. That's official property." Grandpa shouted back, "Official garbage," and dropped the SUV right into the shredder. The sound of metal screaming was deafening. In less than 30 seconds, the entire HOA police cruiser was reduced to chunks of scrap, sliding down the conveyor into neat little cubes. The fake cops stood there, pale as ghosts. One of them stammered, "Why, you'll be arrested for this." Grandpa grinned and said, "Arrested with what evidence? You trespassed on my land, and I recycled your trash. Now get off my property before you join it." They didn't need telling twice. They ran back through the gate and sprinted toward Karen's house. Of course, they actually did call the real police. When the county sheriff showed up, Grandpa just handed over the security footage, clear as day, showing the HOA clowns trespassing without a warrant. The sheriff looked at the footage, then at Grandpa, and just chuckled. "Well, technically, destroying their car isn't legal," he said. "But since it wasn't registered as an actual police vehicle and they were trespassing, I'd say this falls under self-defense of property." Karen tried to sue us for damages, but the judge dismissed it instantly. In fact, the court ordered her and the HOA security team to pay restitution for trespassing. They ended up footing the bill for their own destroyed SUV. Now, every time I walk past the junkyard, I see the cube of crushed metal that used to be their patrol vehicle. Grandpa had it welded into a lawn ornament with a sign on top that reads, "HOA Police Recycled Here." And you better believe, since that day, not a single HOA cop has dared step foot on our land again.